Hi, and welcome to Carlos Cooks again. Now, normally when you're cooking salmon, they come with boring sauces, béarnaise sauce, lemon sauce, sweet chili sauce on them, but I bet you've never thought of having mustard with it. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. Not your sort of common yellow mustards. We're going to use a really nice Wholegrain Dijon mustard. But what we're going to do is we're going to pan fry a fillet of salmon, finish it off in the oven, and then we're going to make a garlic butter and Dijon mustard and dill sauce, which we're going to cook some fresh prawns in, along with some sauteed courgettes, baby courgettes, and we're going to drizzle that over our salmon and serve it with some crispy new potatoes we've got in the oven. So with that, it's going to taste lovely, and I suggest you try it. I know it doesn't sound like it goes together, but it really does. So we'll start off. What we're going to do first is we're going to make this garlic butter with the mustard and some other ingredients first, and put that to one side before we cook the salmon, because the salmon doesn't take long in the oven at all. We're just going to fry it quickly just to crisp the skin up underneath before we put it in the oven. So we need that garlic butter ready so that we can get the prawns cooking, and the courgettes as well, and then put it all together. So we'll start by doing that garlic butter. So we need a good sized piece of butter in there. I've had this at room temperature for a while, so it's quite soft. We don't need much. I've got quite a large portion of prawns I'm going to do with it, but that should be plenty. And into that, for quickness and convenience sake, about just half a teaspoon of crushed garlic, and then a large heaped teaspoon of Wholegrain Dijon mustard, and then for some sweetness, I've got some honey. We're going to put about a dessert spoonful of honey in there. And then herb-wise, this is going to have some fresh dill added to the pan as we're finishing the prawns off, but we also need a level teaspoon of Italian herbs and seasoning. And if you haven't got Italian herbs and seasoning, this is just thyme, oregano, basil, parsley. I think this one's got sesame seeds in it as well. Then some seasoning. Then we just want to mix those ingredients together, get them all combined. This is where you'll start to smell the sort of vinegar of the mustard coming out. I'm not sure how they make Dijon mustard. I'm presuming it's got a white wine vinegar of some sort in it, but what you're making here is just a very loose garlic butter, like you would if you were brushing it on French stick to bake it. It's going to be a little bit more juicier because of the Wholegrain mustard, but just try and break it down with the back of a spoon and get it all mixed in. Don't worry too much, because obviously it's going to melt in the pan on the heat, but we just want to try and mix it properly. Okay, so that's what you're looking for, like that. So I'm going to stick that back in the fridge now. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to crisp the skin up on the base of our salmon. So I'm just going to put the pan on quite a high heat. And into that a little bit of butter, but because we're going to be putting it in the oven as well, we're going to put a bit of olive oil so it doesn't burn. I've just got a light olive oil I'm going to use here for that. So just add a little bit to that. Now I'm just using some normal salmon fillets here. Big enough portion there for one person. They're going to cook very quickly. So we're just crisping up that little bit of skin we've got on the bottom. And then straight into a hot oven which I've got on 200 degrees Celsius. So not very long at all, so we're just going to put that straight in. And all we're really doing here is just getting it started on the base, just getting a bit of colour on. And then we'll stick it straight into our oven. Now what else I'm going to serve with this is some new potatoes. Now I've already boiled those in halves, and I've just mixed them with some butter and parsley, and I've got a glass dish in the oven that I'm going to put those in so that they can just cook and crisp up a bit in there, because they'll go very nice with this dish. So I'm just going to put those in now. So I've got the glass dish nice and hot. You can see those there. And we're just going to crisp those up in the top of the oven while the salmon's going to cook on the middle shelf. Right, that's looking good. So that's going off quickly and into the top of the oven. Sorry, the middle of the oven. Using an oven-proof frying pan there with a steel handle. So now we'll just put, it's not going to take long at all. We will check it in 8 minutes. Right, so the next thing is we're going to get these courgettes cooking. So once again, on quite a high heat. Just a tiny bit of butter, because we are going to put some other butter in there as well. A little bit of olive oil again. Now these baby courgettes, we're just going to top and tail them. And then just slice them on an angle very, very thinly. We want them to cook very quickly. So just slithers really. These are quite tender, the baby ones, so they cook a lot quicker. So you could use normal courgettes if you wanted to, but obviously you'll have to cook them a little bit longer. Right, I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. Let's put that on manual. Get those in and start those cooking. Keep them moving in the pan because we don't want them to get too much colour. We're just looking for them to soften up here. Check on our salmon. 6 minutes in, it's cooking lovely. Might need to come out even earlier than that. Doesn't take very long at all, those thin salmon fillets. Obviously if you had it wrapped in paper or foil and was baking it in the oven, they take a little longer. Usually I find 10 to 12 minutes for a large piece in that sort of heated oven, but this will probably take 6 to 8 minutes, and then we will take it out and just let it rest a little bit while we finish off these prawns. So here are the prawns I'm using. Raw fresh prawns, shell off. And they're going to be plump and juicy and lovely, especially with that butter. Right, we're nearly ready to add the prawns here as well, because these courgettes are not going to take very long at all. So let's get our garlic butter out again ready. And also we're going to put some fresh dill on top of this just before we take it out of the pan, so we just want to shred a little bit of that up for garnish. The dill and the mustard will go together really well. Right, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit because we want to get these prawns cooked really quickly. Right, we're getting a little bit of colour on those now, so that's looking good. Just let's get the heat up. Have a look at our fish. We don't want it to overcook. And that looks done to me, so we're not going to take that much further. We'll take that out now. It's only a very small piece, that, so it's not going to cook very long at all. Right. So we'll just test one of these. Yeah, perfect. Got a little bit of bite to them. Beautiful. Let's get our prawns in. I'm cooking quite a lot of prawns here, but they're going to be nice, so I'm going to eat all of those with this dish tonight. Right, so you can see they're starting to change colour now. They're starting to go slightly pinkish. We don't want to overcook these, so it's important as soon as they start to look like they're taking on colour, we're going to get our butter in. So a couple of big dollops of our whole grain mustard butter, and start to get that in so that they can take up that flavour. And at this point you start to get some wonderful smells from the frying pan. Beautiful. You can really smell the garlic and the mustard now and the butter. It's really starting to smell delicious. So we've just got to cook these prawns through now. Make sure you do cook them sufficiently. And the garlic butter will thicken up with the mustard in there. You'll see it's thickening up and drying up. So we can add a little bit more because we want a bit to run all over our salmon as well, so put a bit more in, but keep moving these prawns round. You can see now they've turned lovely, lovely pink colour. These are not far off at all now. We're nearly done. So what we're going to do now is add our dill. That's lovely and fragrant, that dill as well. It immediately reminds you that you're going to be eating fish. Right, that can go off. So those prawns are done. Beautiful pink colour. They don't take long to cook at all. Almost got a sort of gravlax sort of look to the sauce now. So that's our timer gone now. Just going to just quickly warm up the plate. So we'll turn the oven off. Let's just see. That salmon looks perfectly done. One thing you don't want is a dry piece of salmon, so don't overcook it. It will continue cooking when you take it out of the oven. There's still a lot of heat there that is going throughout that salmon. Just finish off cooking the insides. So just clean this board up and then we'll plate up. Now that was a really quick dish to make, but it's going to be delicious. And if you served it just like that with the prawns on, you've got a very low carb meal, very healthy there. Obviously that sauce is going to need something to pick it up, and potatoes are ideal for that, so some crispy new potatoes are going to work wonders with it. And it smells lovely, I can't wait. In fact, I can't wait. I'm going to try one of the prawns just to make sure they're done. Beautiful, perfectly cooked inside. They're lovely and moist, and they've taken up the flavour of that mustard wonderfully. That is beautiful. You're not going to be disappointed. Make that. Make that. Okay. Don't forget to use that. Don't pick the frying pan up without tea towel or oven gloves on, because it will be very hot coming out of that oven. So here's our salmon fillet. Let's drizzle some prawns over that. Some of that beautiful sauce. Smells amazing. And for the last bit, some beautiful crisp up new potatoes. Just got a little bit of colour on them, but they're going to give you something to mop up those juices with that's going to be lovely. And there you have it. That's our pan-fried salmon, finished off in the oven with some lovely, juicy, fresh prawns, and they've been fried in a garlic butter with Dijon mustard, whole grain mustard, and some baby courgettes, and a little bit of fresh dill. And it really does taste beautiful. In fact, I'm going to have another prawn. Mustard and fish, mustard and prawns, it works. So try that, because that is delicious. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and hit the bell notification icon if you want to know about future content I upload. And great to have a thumbs up. I wouldn't say no to a thumbs down if you think I've got work to do still. But have a look at the other videos on my channel as well and see if there's anything else that interests you on there. But for now, I'll see you next time.